Okay, finally, I'm in. I've watched every single episode,
including...
I've caught up.
That was nearly a half-hour interrogation scene on the episode last night. Don't worry, we won't give anything away if you haven't watched it yet. I know Carol stayed up very late last night watching it and she's regretting it this morning. But we'll speak to Kelly MacDonald at 8:30 this morning. Loads fit on the show, and also more welcome news today on the vaccine rollout. Today, 500,000 44-year-olds in England will be invited to book their jabs.
Over the next few days, the NHS will set out when everyone aged over 40 will be able to book their appointments. Let's speak to one of our regular breakfast GPs, Dr. Nigat Arif. I think you're always a Monday morning GP as well, aren't you?
I am. I like to get them week started on a positive note, if I can. Well, speak to you guys, obviously.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that positive note. So, I mean, this is good news, isn't it? It keeps rolling down the age groups.
We've done fantastically with our vaccination programme, and actually we're slightly ahead in different patches around the country with the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine and the Pfizer BioNTech. The uptake has been huge, and this is just a massive effort into what can be done in the NHS, and also the nation as a whole has pulled together and got behind the vaccination programme as well. We've seen triple the uptake in ethnic minority communities, 4 to 5 times more uptake in Pakistani, Bangladeshi communities. And if you remember back in January, SAGE were really concerned that in Africa, Caribbean communities, 80% reluctant in taking up the vaccine. But that, with lots of information coming through by reaching out to those communities in the languages that they understand. I've produced some literature and also some video and content as well. We've been able to break down those barriers, which is also fantastic because we know that this is the only way the vaccination program works is if we all work together as a community, and also as a global pandemic, we need to be able to make sure that the right information is getting along. So now we're going down the groups and we're getting down to the 44-year-olds, and that information still needs to go, keep going, that positivity still needs to go, because if you look at the data, Louise, you can't deny the data. I mean, the one jab from the Pfizer vaccine, 60 to 80% reduction in hospitalization. We know that the decrease in transmission of the virus has even come down. That's the new data that's come out. And also we know that severe illness reduction by 80 to 90%. And the great thing is by the vaccine as well, is that we've realized that if the younger population get it, because you won't get the active COVID-19, even the hope is that the data and the preliminary data is showing is lesser rates of long COVID. And long COVID is something that I'm seeing. So the young population might be thinking, well, I don't need the vaccine, because there is still a little bit of hesitancy between the 18 to 29-year-olds. But the important thing is to let them know that actually you won't get severely sick from this. And so it just feeds back into that positive note and hope that this is the right track, because this is the right track.
Nigat, we also know, and we were talking about it throughout the programme this morning, restrictions easing in Wales and in Scotland today. There are changes there. There was an open letter, wasn't there, from scientists yesterday calling for face masks and social distancing to end in June. What are your thoughts? Well,
OK, so I don't mind colleagues having different opinions. This is an open letter that was sent out by eminent scientists saying that there should be no masks, no physical distancing and no further lockdown. Science is always going to be debatable. There will be some people who will be producing one article and then another article that will counteract that one. That's the point of science. But at the minute, I think that if we look around us, we're in a global pandemic. You just have to look at the situation in India. That's a humanitarian crisis. The peak at the minute hasn't even hit in India. And the prediction is that there are going to be 13,000 deaths a day. That's 90,000 deaths a week. I mean, it's horrific. And if we look at our European friends and counterparts, they're in their third wave and they're in another lockdown and they're struggling. Brazil, South Africa. I mean, you just have to look across the world. So we know that the measures that work, vaccines is one, but actually it's the other measures that really work, such as lockdown. If we look back in hindsight, when I was talking to you guys back in before the third and the second lockdown, we weren't too far off that situation that we're seeing in India. We were going to the point that we were overwhelmed in our hospitals. We were overwhelmed with the amount of oxygen that was needed. And there were issues in and around various hospitals where there was a lack of oxygen as well. So although we can look at India and think this is, a horrific situation, but in the UK, we weren't too far off that. And so those measures of washing your hands, physical distancing, making sure that we are abiding by the rules, hand washing, all of those things are going to play a role. So I disagree that this open letter should be. Well, I disagree with my colleagues on this one because it's reckless, actually, to be able to say to people that we will come out of this pandemic on the 21st of June and everything will be completely fine, because we still need to be careful because we don't know about variants yet. We don't know if the vaccine is going to be as effective against variants, and we cannot have a fourth lockdown. Well, I don't think we will survive it.
Well, listen, thank you very much. Good to chat to you as ever, and thank you for your opinions on that, Dr. Nighat Arif, as ever. Now, basically Monday GP, I've decided.
She's got Monday covered, hasn't she?
She has. So that's for ages.
Sally is with us today as well, so trying to wrap up